Have you ever felt unwanted? Have you ever fought for love that seemed out of reach? This is the story of Isioma, a girl born into struggle, raised in rejection, but destined for greatness. When life tore her apart from her mother, the pain was unbearable. But in the darkest moments, a miracle happened, a twist that no one saw coming. Stay with me. Subscribe if you have not. And please watch till the end because this is a story that will break you, heal you, and inspire you. Oh, yeah, let's begin. The village of Omago was a place where everyone knew each other's business. At the heart of it all was a young girl named Isioma, a fierce and stubborn 12-year-old who never sought trouble but never backed down from a fight. She lived with her mother, Chioma, and her grandfather, Mazude, a strict man who never hid his disdain for his granddaughter. He often called her one week, one trouble, or Okunoka, names that stuck to her like a shadow. Chioma, a hard-working woman, sold fairly used clothes, okreka, at the village market. She was fiercely protective of her daughter, ready to take on anyone who insulted Isioma. Despite her struggles, she always made sure Isioma had what she needed. But Mazude refused to acknowledge Isioma as part of the family, constantly reminding Chioma that she had brought shame to their household. One fateful afternoon, Isioma found herself in the principal's office. She had beaten up a 14-year-old boy who called her a bastard. When the boy's mother heard what had happened, she dragged him straight to Isioma's house to confront her family. As Isioma was returning home, she spotted the angry woman and her son marching toward her. Instinctively, she bolted, her feet kicking up dust as she sprinted toward her compound. "What is chasing you, Okunoka?" Mazude asked from his seat on the wooden bench outside. Isioma didn't stop to answer. Moments later, the furious woman stormed in, demanding to know where Isioma was. When Mazude learned what had happened, he did the unthinkable. He dragged Isioma from hiding and handed her over. "Do with her whatever you wish," he said coldly. As Isioma was being beaten along the road, fate intervened. Chioma was returning from the market and caught sight of the commotion. Without hesitation, she lunged at the woman, dragging Isioma to safety. When she learned that her own father had betrayed her daughter, her rage knew no bounds. She confronted Mazude, her father, who dismissed her anger. "I sent you to school so you could have a better life. Yet you brought shame to this family with this problem child," he spat. Life grew harder for Chioma and Isioma. Chioma's business was falling because customers refused to pay for the clothes they had taken on credit. When no money left to restock, hunger gnawed at them. Mazude, unbothered by their suffering, locked the kitchen, refusing to share his food. Chioma resorted to buying small portions of food, ensuring Isioma ate while she herself survived on raw garri. When Isioma discovered this, her heart ached, and she said, "Mama, we will be fine." She assured her mother, "I know what to do." The next day, Isioma spotted Mary, one of the debtors, and politely asked for the money owed. Instead of paying, Mary insulted her. Rage surged through Isioma. She grabbed Mary's bag and ran. That evening, Chioma returned home to find Isioma feasting on jollof rice and chicken. And she said, "Where did you get this food?" she asked fearfully. When Isioma explained, Chioma was torn between anger and admiration. And she said, "Mama, don't worry. If they won't pay, I will collect something in return. It's now trade by barter, Isioma declared. Her unconventional methods continued. One day, she returned home with 2 tubers of yam, having taken them from another debtor who refused to pay, but trouble was brewing elsewhere. Chioma had a younger sister, Linda, who had left home years ago, though she reconnected with them on the phone 2 years back. She had since become distant. Chioma was unaware that Linda had secretly been sending money to Mazude, their father, who refused to share it with them. Linda, now wealthy, was living in the city. One afternoon, while shopping at a supermarket, she ran into an old schoolmate, Austin. Sparks flew, and their old friendship quickly rekindled into something deeper. Soon, Austin proposed, and Linda, eager to embrace a new chapter in her life, decided it was time to visit home. One evening, Chioma approached her father again, desperate for financial help. As she entered his room, she caught him hurriedly hiding a stack of money, and she said, "Papa, please, just lend me something," she pleaded. But Mazude turned her away and said, "I have no money for you. Stop disturbing me. Oh yeah, get out." Devastated, Chioma left the room in tears. Isioma, seeing her mother's pain, couldn't hold back any longer, and she said, "Mama, why does Grandpa hate us so much? Why won't he help us? And why does everyone in the village say you don't know my father? Mama, is it true? Who is my father? I need to know." Chioma wiped her tears and took a deep breath and said, "Grandpa doesn't hate us, Isioma. He is just bitter because he believes I brought shame to the family. But one day you will know the truth, okay?" One fateful afternoon, Linda visited home with her beautiful car. As soon as Mazude saw her, his face lighted up with joy. He welcomed her warmly, and they sat on a wooden bench outside, talking like a father and his beloved daughter. Linda wasted no time in revealing the reason for her visit. Someone had asked for her hand in marriage. Mazude was overjoyed at the news. He clapped his hands together, nodding with approval, and praised Linda for making him proud. As they continued their discussion, Chioma arrived and saw them sitting together. However, they were too engrossed in their conversation to notice her. Instead of interrupting, Chioma walked past them and went inside, hiding behind the door to eavesdrop on their discussion. After a while, when Linda was ready to leave, she asked about Chioma. At that moment, Chioma stepped out. Her face tense with anger. She grabbed Linda by the hand and led her away from their father's presence to a secluded corner of the house. Chioma confronted Linda, demanding to know why she had blocked her calls and cut off communication. Linda struggled to provide a reasonable explanation, only managing to say that Chioma should be happy for her because she was getting married. This response only fueled Chioma's anger. As they argued, Isioma entered the compound. Sensing the tension, they immediately stopped talking. Chioma turned away, taking Isioma's hand, and walked off without another word. When Linda tried to give Chioma the gifts she had brought for her, Chioma refused. Her voice was sharp as she warned Linda never to bring her anything again, insisting that she was fine without her. Linda watched, hot and confused, as Chioma and Isioma disappeared into the house. A few days later, Linda returned with Austin, the man who wanted to marry her. They had come to see her father and formally introduce Austin to the family. When Chioma saw them, she remained silent, making no effort to acknowledge them. Mazi Ude sensing the tension, waved his hand dismissively and told Linda and Austin to ignore her. Later that evening, Isioma returned home from the market. As soon as Linda saw her, she smiled and called her over, offering her a bag filled with gifts. Isioma, without hesitation, ignored her completely and walked past her as though she didn't exist. Linda's smile faded and she exchanged an uneasy glance with Austin. That night, as they drove back to their home, Austin, who had been deep in thought, finally spoke up and he said, Linda, there is something I don't understand. That little girl is Chioma. Who is she? Whose daughter is she? Linda did not respond to Austin's question when they were still on the road, but immediately they reached home, Linda told Austin and said, Isioma is our daughter. Austin stared at Linda in shock and said, Wait, what? Are you saying that Isioma is our daughter? Linda nodded, avoiding his eyes, and said, Yes, Austin, the pregnancy I told you about back in school, the one you told me to abort, I didn't do it. That child is Isioma. Austin sat back, running a hand over his face. He was silent for a long moment before a slow smile spread across his lips and he said, Linda, do you know what this means? I have a daughter. We have a daughter. He reached for Linda's hands excitedly. We have to bring her with us, he said. Linda pulled her hands away and shook her head and said, It's not that simple. You don't know what Chioma has been through because of Isioma. I abandoned them. She suffered. People mocked her. Austin, they all believe Isioma was her daughter and she never defended herself. She took all the shame because of me. Austin's face grew serious and he said, Then we must make things right. We need to tell the truth and bring Isioma home. Linda sighed and said, I will talk to Chioma first. If she agrees, then we can break the news to my father. Austin nodded and said, Fine, but don't waste time. I want my daughter to know me. A few weeks later, one afternoon, Linda returned to the village. She found Chioma sitting on a wooden chair by the corner of the house, deep in thought. Chioma barely looked at her when she arrived, and she said, What do you want this time? Linda took a deep breath and sat beside her and said, I came because of Isioma. Chioma's body stiffened immediately. Linda continued, her voice careful, and she said, Austin and I have decided to take her with us. We want her to live with us and have a good life. Before she could finish, Chioma jumped to her feet and said, What did you just say? Linda also stood up and said, Chioma, please listen. Oh, now Isioma is your daughter, eh? Now you remember she's yours. Chioma's voice shook with anger. You abandoned me, Linda. You made me a laughingstock in this village. Ekene, the only man who wanted to marry me, left me because of your mistake. And you know the worst part? Mama died because of this. She died from heartbreak and shame, all because I refused to tell anyone what you did. And you walked away like nothing happened, and you are here talking of taking Isioma. Linda's face fell, and she said, Chioma, I know I hurt you. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please let me make things right. Chioma's hands trembled as she pointed at her sister and said, You lost that chance a long time ago, Linda. Just then, they heard a voice behind them. Which Isioma are you people talking about? Chioma and Linda froze at the sound of Isioma's voice. They turned to see her standing a few feet away, her wide eyes filled with curiosity, and she said again, "Which Isioma are you people talking about?" she repeated, looking from one woman to the other. Chioma quickly regained herself and forced a smile, trying to hide the tension, and said, "Nothing, my dear, it's just..." She glanced at Linda, searching for words. We were talking about something else. Don't worry yourself." But Isioma was not a child to be easily dismissed. She crossed her arms stubbornly. "No, Mama, I heard my name. You people are talking about me." She turned to Linda. "Auntie Linda, what is it?" Linda swallowed hard, looking at Chioma, but before she could speak, Chioma stepped forward and placed a hand on Isioma's shoulder and said, "Isioma, come inside. I need to talk to you." Isioma frowned, glancing at Linda again, but Chioma didn't give her a chance to ask more questions. She gently but firmly led Isioma into the house, leaving Linda standing there, her heart pounding. Once inside, Chioma shut the door and knelt before Isioma, holding her hands. She could feel her own heartbeat racing, and she said, "Isioma," she began carefully, "you must promise me something. Whatever you heard outside, just forget about it for now. I will explain everything to you when the time is right, okay?" Isioma's face twisted in confusion, and she said, "But Mama..." "No questions," Chioma cut in, her voice almost pleading. "Just trust me." Isioma hesitated, then slowly nodded, though the confusion did not leave her face. Chioma sighed in relief and pulled her into a tight embrace, closing her eyes. She knew that the storm was only just beginning. That evening, after Chioma took Isioma inside, Linda wiped her tears and left the village, her heart heavy with guilt and pain. When she returned to the city, she went straight to Austin and told him everything and said, "She refused," Linda said, her voice shaking. "Chioma won't even listen to me. She hates me, Austin. And Isioma, she doesn't know the truth yet." Austin sighed deeply, rubbing his forehead, and said, "Linda, we can't give up just like that. She's my daughter too. I won't sit back and let this be." He looked at Linda firmly and said, "Next time, I'm coming with you." Linda hesitated but nodded. "All right, we will go together." Back in the village, Isioma had been restless since the day she overheard Linda and Chioma's argument. She kept pestering her mother for answers, and she said, "Mama, who were you and Auntie Linda talking about that day?" she asked one afternoon. Chioma avoided her eyes and said, "It's nothing you should worry about." But Isioma was persistent. Days passed and the questions continued. One day, Chioma finally sighed and decided to tell her everything. And she said, "Sit down, Isioma," patting the wooden stool beside her. Isioma quickly sat, looking up at her mother with curious eyes. Chioma took a deep breath and said, "It all started when Linda and I went to the university. Papa loved me very much and wanted me to be a lawyer. He was so proud of me." Isioma nodded, listening carefully. "There was a man in our town, one of the richest men. His name was Ekene. He wanted to marry me, and I accepted him. Everything was set. The day he was supposed to pay my bride price, I returned home, but I wasn't alone." Isioma's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" Chioma's voice wavered. "That was the day I came back with you." Isioma gasped. "Me?" Chioma nodded, her eyes clouding with pain, and she continued. "When they saw me carrying a baby, they demanded answers. But I didn't say a word. Because of that, Ekene refused to marry me." Isioma's lips parted, but she couldn't speak. Chioma swallowed hard and continued. That day, Mama collapsed from the shock. She had a heart attack. Before we could get her to the hospital, she was gone. A tear rolled down Isioma's cheek. Grandma died because of me? No, my love, Chioma said, pulling her close. She died because of the shame that came with it. And after that, Papa hated me. He never forgave me. I couldn't even finish my education. Isioma wiped her tears, struggling to process everything. Then she asked, Mama, where was Auntie Linda when all this happened? Chioma's face hardened. When Linda found out she was pregnant, she wanted to abort the baby. Isioma's breath caught. I didn't let her, Chioma continued. I warned her when she was flirting around with Austin, but she didn't listen. I stayed by her side throughout her pregnancy, helping her until she gave birth to you. And then, just days after you were born, she ran away. Isioma's fist clenched. Chioma's voice were bitter now. She left you, Isioma. She left me. And my wedding was only a few weeks away. But on the day of my marriage, I couldn't leave you behind. I took you with me. She let out a shaky breath when they saw me carrying a newborn baby. Everything scattered. That was the end. My marriage, my dreams, everything. That's why I said you are my child. No one will take you away from me. Silence filled the room. Isioma wiped her tears aggressively. Then she looked at her mother, fire burning in her eyes, and she said, I hate her, Mama. I hate Linda. She will never be my mother. Not now. Not ever. Chioma hugged Isioma tightly, her heart breaking all over again. But little did they know, Linda and Austin were already planning their return. Weeks passed, but the tension in Chioma's heart never eased. Then, one afternoon, as she was washing clothes outside, she heard a car pulled up in front of their house. Her hands froze. She didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Linda and Austin had returned. Before they could step closer, Chioma rose to her feet, her eyes burning with rage, and she said, Don't you dare come any closer, she warned, her voice shaking with anger. Linda swallowed hard and said, Chioma, please. Leave, Chioma shouted, pointing towards the road. I said, leave. Austin stepped forward, his expression calm but firm, and he said, Chioma, listen to us. We just want to talk. There's nothing to talk about, Chioma snapped. You threw me away, Linda. You left me to suffer, and now you want to come back and take my daughter over my dead body, she said. Linda's eyes filled with tears, and she said, I regret everything, Chioma. I know I was wrong, but Isioma is my daughter too. Chioma let out a bitter laugh. Ha ha ha! Oh, now she's your daughter? Where were you when I was suffering? When I had nothing? When I was called a disgrace? No, Isioma is mine and mine forever. Nobody, not even you, will take her away from me. Realizing that Chioma wouldn't listen, Austin whispered something to Linda. Then, without another word, they turned and left. Chioma sighed in relief, thinking it was over, but she was wrong. That evening, Austin and Linda went straight to Mazude as he returned from the market. They sat before him, their faces serious. Papa, Linda began, her voice trembling. There is something you don't know, Papa. Mazude frowned. What is it? He said. Austin took a deep breath and said, Isioma, the child Chioma has been raising all these years. She's our daughter. Mazude's face darkened and he shouted, What? Linda nodded, tears running down her cheeks, and she said, She's mine and Austin's. I got pregnant in school, and Chioma, she sacrificed everything to raise my child. For the first time in years, Mazude was speechless. He felt like the ground had been pulled from beneath him. He stared at his daughter, then at Austin, and he said, "You mean to tell me all these years I was punishing the wrong person?" Linda nodded, her head bowed in shame. Mazude felt sick immediately. Guilt flooded his heart. He had called Chioma a disgrace, rejected her, let her suffer, and all this time she had been innocent. He buried his face in his hands and said, "What have I done?" Austin cleared his throat and said, "Papa, we came because we want Isioma back. We want to take her with us." Mazude sighed heavily and said, "What are you talking? In fact, you people should go. Go, 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 go. Go. Leave me for now. Leave me for now. Let go, go. I will talk to Choma and all of you later. Go." The next day, after thinking everything over, Mazude called Chioma and sat her down. His face was filled with regret, and he said, "Chioma, my daughter," he said softly, "I have wronged you." Chioma eyed him suspiciously but said nothing. "I just found out the truth. I was blind. I let my anger push you away when you needed me most. I," his voice broke, "I should have protected you." Chioma folded her arms and said, "It's too late for that, Papa." Mazude sighed and continued, "I know, but I came to ask something of you." Chioma stiffened. "Linda and Austin want to take Isioma with them," Mazude said. Chioma's eyes flashed with fury and she said, "Oh, and you expect me to hand her over just like that?" Mazude continued, "Chioma, think about it. Isioma deserves to know her real parents." Chioma shook her head and said, "No, Papa, you don't get to tell me what Isioma deserves. Where was Linda when I was begging for help? Where were you when I was being insulted and humiliated? Where were you people?" Mazi Ude lowered his gaze and Choma continued, "You want me to just forget everything?" Choma's voice cracked. "I raised that girl. I fought for her. She's mine and she's mine forever." Mazude sighed in frustration and said, "Chioma." "No, Papa." Chioma stood up and said, "I will never give her to them." She turned and walked away. Realizing that Chioma wouldn't change her mind, Austin and Linda took the matter to the Umunna, the village elders. A meeting was called. The elders listened carefully as Austin and Linda explained everything. They then summoned Chioma. Mazude was there too, his heart heavy with guilt. After much discussion, the elders reached a verdict and said, "Chioma," one of them said, "we understand your pain, but Isioma's real parents are here now and they want to take responsibility. It is only right that she goes with them." Chioma clenched her fist and said, "No!" The elders frowned and said, "You don't have a choice, Chioma. The child must go to her mother." Before Chioma could respond, a voice interrupted them. "I won't go." Everyone turned to see Isioma standing at the doorway, her eyes filled with anger. And she said, "The only mother I know is Chioma," she said boldly, "and no one will take me from her." A heavy silence fell over the gathering. The elders looked at each other, unsure of what to say. Linda's face paled, and she said, "Isioma, I—" Before she could finish, Isioma interrupted her and said, "I don't care. You left me. You abandoned me. I don't need you now. Please go away." Austin took a step forward and said, "Isioma, please try to understand." No, Isioma turned to the elders. If this meeting is about me, then I should decide. And I choose my mother. I choose Chioma. She is my mother forever. Chioma's heart swelled with pride. But she knew this wasn't over. Linda and Austin weren't going to accept defeat so easily, and she was right. A few days later, while Chioma was at the market, Isioma was in school as usual. But that day, something strange happened. A black car pulled outside the Isioma school gate. Two people stepped out, Austin and Linda. When Isioma came out after classes, she barely had time to react before strong arms grabbed her. Her screams echoed through the school compound, but within seconds, the car had sped away. Isioma had been taken. After Linda and Austin took Isioma to their house in the city, she refused to settle in. She wanted to return to Chioma, the only mother she had ever known. Linda and Austin tried to make her comfortable, but she rejected everything they offered. Determined to keep her, they instructed the gatekeeper not to let Isioma out of the compound. However, Isioma was not one to give up easily. She cried endlessly, refused to eat, and disrupted their sleep at night. She threw tantrums, banged on doors, and even refused to wear new clothes they bought for her. Back in the village, Chioma waited for Isioma to return from school, but she never did. Panic set in, and she searched everywhere for her daughter. When no one had seen Isioma, Chioma's fear grew. Days passed, yet Isioma was nowhere to be found. Desperate, Chioma and Mazude decided to report her disappearance to the police. But just as Mazude was preparing to leave, his phone rang. It was Linda. Papa, Isioma is with us, Linda said. We took her from school, Linda confessed. Mazude was furious and he said, You took her without telling anyone? Do you know the pain you've caused? He shouted. Chioma, who overheard the conversation, ran into the room screaming and said, Return my daughter to me. You have no right to take her away from me. Return her now. Days passed and Chioma became sick from worry and heartbreak. Mazude did everything he could to console her, even inviting Chioma's maternal relatives to talk to her, but nothing helped. Meanwhile, Chioma's best friend, Chinelo, who was not around all this while, had just returned from a trip with her brother, the parish priest, Father Jude. Upon hearing about Chioma's illness, Chinelo rushed to see her while Mazude went to speak with Father Jude. In his office, Mazude told the priest everything, and he said, I failed my daughter, Father. Now, my granddaughter has been taken away, and Chioma is breaking apart. I don't know what to do. Father Jude listened carefully and promised to visit Chioma. That evening, he and Chinelo went to her house. Seeing her best friend again, Chioma broke down in tears and explained everything. Chinelo was heartbroken and she said, Don't worry, Chioma, we will fix this, she assured her. At the same time, in the city, Isioma had fallen seriously ill. No amount of medicine or care could heal her. Linda and Austin took her to the best hospitals, but nothing worked. Isioma only wanted one thing, to be with Chioma. Realizing they had made a terrible mistake, Linda and Austin decided to return Isioma to her mother. The next day, as Father Jude and Chinelo sat with Chioma and Mazude, a car pulled into the compound. Linda and Austin stepped out, carrying a weak and pale Isioma. Chioma, who had been lying on a mat outside, jumped up and ran to her daughter. Isioma, she cried, hugging her tightly. The moment Isioma felt Chioma's arms around her, something miraculous happened. Her strength returned instantly. It was as if she had never been sick. Tears filled everyone's eyes. Even Mazude wept as he witnessed the powerful bond between mother and child. After a moment of silence, Father Jude cleared his throat and said, "Everyone, please sit down. We need to talk." When they had all settled, Father Jude turned to Linda and Austin and said, "What you did was wrong. You cannot force a child to love you. Parenthood is not just about biology, it is about love, sacrifice, and care. Chioma has been Isioma's mother all her life. You cannot erase that." Linda looked down in shame and said, "I just wanted to be her mother again," she whispered. "You abandoned her." Father Jude reminded her gently and said, "Chioma raised her when you ran away. You don't get to take her back just because you are now ready." Austin took Linda's hand and sighed and said, "Father, we realized our mistake. We only want peace. We are ready to do whatever Chioma wants to make things right." Mazude was relieved and he said, "This is all I ever wanted, to see my children at peace." Father Jude then made a decision and said, Isioma should stay with Chioma. She is the only mother she knows. But Linda and Austin, you must support Chioma so she can give Isioma a good life. You abandoned her once. Do not fail her again. Everyone agreed. Linda and Austin arranged for Chioma and Isioma to move to the city, where they bought them a comfortable apartment and set up a thriving boutique for Chioma. Chioma and Isioma were overjoyed. Their struggles were finally over. With time, Chioma and Isioma settled into their new life in the city. Chioma's boutique flourished, attracting many customers due to her good business sense and quality products. She worked tirelessly to provide for Isioma, ensuring she lacked nothing. Linda and Austin, true to their word, kept their distance but visited occasionally to check on Isioma. They provided financial support and help in any way they could, but they never forced a relationship. They allowed Isioma to come to them naturally. Over time, Isioma began to soften towards them, especially Austin, who made great efforts to win her heart. Mazude, now an old man, was at peace knowing that his daughter and granddaughter were finally happy. He frequently visited them, and each visit reminded him of the mistakes he had made in the past. He made it his mission to always defend Chioma and Isioma against anyone who tried to hurt them. Father Jude and his sister Chinelo continued to check on them, offering prayers and support. Father Jude was pleased to see how everything had turned out and often reminded Chioma that forgiveness was key to healing completely. As years passed, Isioma grew into a bright and intelligent young lady. She excelled in school, making her mother proud. Despite all she had been through, she held no bitterness in her heart. She maintained a cordial relationship with Linda and Austin, but always considered Chioma her mother. One evening, as Chioma watched Isioma help a customer in the boutique, she smiled and said their journey had been tough, but love had won. Mazude, now old and frail, sat outside their home watching his daughter and granddaughter with pride. He whispered a prayer of gratitude and said, Father Jude had been right all along. Family wasn't about blood, it was about love, sacrifice, and forgiveness. And in the end, love had won and healed them all. The past no longer defined them. They had moved forward, stronger than ever. This is the end of our story. Our moral lesson from this story: love is not defined by biology, but by care, sacrifice, and commitment. Parenthood is not about who gives birth to a child, but who stands by them through every challenge. True family is built on love, not just blood. Forgiveness and understanding can heal even the deepest wounds. And in the end, doing what is right will always bring peace and restoration. A mother's love is not measured by DNA, but by the sacrifices she makes. Chioma may not have bettered Isioma, but she fought for her, raised her, and loved her unconditionally. And in the end, love won. This concludes our story. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share, and also touch the bell button so that you will be notified each time we put out new video. Subscribe for more stories with powerful life lessons. Please and please subscribe to help us grow our channel. And please don't forget to leave your comments, your questions, or your suggestions in the comment section, and we will come back to deal with it. God bless you all as you do so. Love you. Bye bye. Mwah.